welcome to today's video. My name is Rose if this is your first time here, and today I just wanted to talk a little bit about some of my mid-year thoughts. Now that we are heading into July, I just want to go through my planners and talk a little bit about what's working, what's not working, some of my thoughts for next year, and that kind of thing. So I didn't grab every journal that I use, but these are my main planners that I, for the most part, use on a daily basis. So right off the bat, I can tell you that nothing has drastically changed from the lineup video that I made at the beginning of the year. I'm still using basically everything that I talked about in that video. But the way I've used things and just kind of the way things have morphed has changed a little bit, and I definitely already have some strong opinions about next year. So where do we begin? Smallest to biggest? Why not? So, oh, actually, I guess I started off by lying. This was not a part of that original lineup video that I made at the beginning of the year. And honestly, this isn't really a planner. I think I've talked about this a few different times, but this is what I am basically calling my master to-do list. So I'm just keeping a record of not just a regular to-do list. How do I better explain this? This is the list of things that have to happen without a set time frame that stress me out. AKA, this is the master list of tasks that I am avoiding. But it has actually been one of the best things I've implemented in my life to keep me more on track and to keep me productive. Instead of just having those unpleasant tasks swirling around in my brain all the time, not even writing them down in my planner because that stresses me out because I know I'm not going to do it. I write them all down in here so they can free up the space in my brain. And every week I basically just try to tackle one thing on this list, and then once I'm at the bottom of a page, I'll just flip to the next. So it's kind of like my ADHD list, I guess. But it's really working. It has been helping me so much. We all have those things that we know we have to do, but we don't want to do them, whether it's filing paperwork or bigger house projects, that kind of thing. It's just on a list that I don't have to look at all the time. I don't have to be thinking about all the time. And that kind of compartmentalization has made it way more manageable. So that's the first thing. Loving this. Definitely going to keep doing that. Okay. All right. I talked about this briefly in a recent video. This is my mental health planner, and this is the week's, I think they just call it the weekly supplement. And basically the way I've been using this, I don't want to show you too much in here, but I basically created a mini gamification system for myself. I was inspired by Joshi Corin's gamification that she is doing this year in her Bujo. So basically I created a point system for mental health habits or self-care habits, things that I know I struggle with because of my mental health. Easy, simple tasks. Yeah, so basically I get points for doing those things each week, and that equates to this reward system. Yeah, I know I'm being vague, but it's because I don't really want to show you what exactly my, what things are on my point system. Anyway, this is working out for me. It's working well. I like the gamification that I'm doing. It is helping me to push through and accomplish some of the things that traditionally in my life I can let slide, especially if I'm not doing well. The only thing that I don't like is that I'm basically ending up with pretty blank spreads. I use up here and I use the sidebar, but for the most part, the actual spread is blank. And at the beginning of the year, I was thinking I was gonna like be writing notes about my mental health, how I was feeling that day and yada yada. I've not been doing that. Like I'm purely doing the gamification like tracking in here. So I do feel like this is a little bit of a waste. So what I think I'm gonna do next year is just shift this into my weeks, which is where I'm already tracking habits, health, and fitness. And the only reason I didn't have it in there before was for the privacy aspect, which I've touched on before. Like, I don't normally show this in any of my videos, but I do show my weeks, and I like to show my weeks. But I tested this out this week for the first time, so we're gonna skip around a little bit. So I basically shifted the things that I get points for my game, my mental health game, into this tracker. And frankly, these symbols don't really match at all what the tasks are. They were just the best I could do with what I had. So I also included a letter to remind myself, and I have it written out somewhere. But so far this week, it's working for me. So I might just keep doing that instead of waiting till next year. I don't know. But I'm also like, I have this, so I should use it. But maybe I just keep it as something to play around with. I don't know. But the good news is the mental health gamification is working. So love that. Okay, while we have it open, let's just talk about my weeks quickly, because there's not a whole lot about this I have to say, because I love the weeks. I really, really love the weeks. This is my 3rd year, I think, using one. My layout changed like towards the end of last year in 2024, and for the most part, I've basically kept that this year. These are habits that I like to track. I was tracking movement, my steps, and my calories burned, but I've stopped. Well, this week was the first week that I left it off, and just because I wanted to try this out and see how that went. I already track my steps on the 365-day page, and the calories burned, I realized I don't really need to be writing that down anywhere because I have it in my Fitbit. So I think I can just I think I'm fine to just remove that from my layout. So this is probably going to be my new layout moving forward. Still a little undetermined about this, but we'll see. I recently did add currently reading. I know this is blank. It's because I finished my last book on Monday and I haven't started a new book yet. And then I always have like the areas I want to focus on in like cleaning, my chore focuses for the week. And then I don't think I said this, meals. I also just want to clarify, because I realize I say this really briefly, and if you like don't know me or you haven't seen my videos, you might look at this and be like, she doesn't eat anything. I don't write down all my snacks. I don't write down the details of my meals. These are just, very vague descriptions of my meals that I will understand what they are, but I don't want anyone to see this in my videos and think that this is like a comprehensive list of everything I am eating, because it absolutely is not. What's not working for me in the weeks is this, which the previous 2 years I had just like some hobbies and habits that I really wanted to focus on, and I was tracking them here and it worked really well. This year I wanted to track steps here because I'm not doing very well, but really wanted to try to focus on getting more steps in this year after going through some really insane foot and ankle injuries last year and having a couple surgeries. I had my last surgery in March, so I'm still not like at the level of strength and stamina that I was at prior to the injury. Anyway, I'm digressing. Point is, I put my steps at the front, moved this in the back, and basically immediately gave up on it. But part of it was because I realized, like, the previous 2 years I was tracking this because I wanted to make sure I was spending more time doing things other than doom scrolling and just sitting at my computer. And I think I have succeeded in implementing those habits, and I am participating in my hobbies more and doing things other than just screen time. So it doesn't really feel that necessary to be tracking this anyway. But it's kind of a shame that I like made this beautiful spread and then just was like, nah, no thanks. My monthly challenges for myself are very hit or miss. I wouldn't say it's not working for me, but it's also not like going super well. So I don't know. I don't have really anything else in mind for the monthly spreads, so I am gonna keep using them as like monthly challenge tracking for myself. Goals, I should say. I say challenge, but they're just goals basically. Yeah. So that's the weeks. Love the weeks. We'll definitely be getting another weeks next year. And I'll probably just put my mental health planning back into this. Okay, then we have, well, this is basically just my common planner. I don't show that in videos because that has a lot of lists and things, but this is my YouTube planner. And this is, again, kind of like the mental health planner. I wouldn't say it's not working, but it feels a little bit like a waste because I'm not using it much. I use the monthly spreads to loosely plan some things out, ideas. I was tracking some stats here, and then like some notes about videos I want to make. But I'm not using this as much as I thought I would or hoped to. So I do still have hopes and dreams of being better about planning out content and making more like diverse content, not just plan with me's and that sort of thing. So I think in the second half of the year, I am really going to try to push myself to use this more and try different ways to use it. But I've also thought maybe getting a weeks next year to try to do YouTube planning that way. I don't know. I also feel like I could probably get away with just using a blank notebook, like a dot grid notebook, a Bujo or something. So I'm not sure. I like the day free. I'm definitely just not using it to its full potential. So those are my thoughts on that. Okay, then we have my dance planner. If you're newer to my channel, I am a dance teacher and director at a premier school in the Washington, D.C. area. This past year I was teaching 9 classes, and in the past I've used a notebook to kind of just like jot notes down, and I do a lot of stuff digitally, but I went into this year really hoping to keep a much better record of what I did each class so I could see more week to week what we did. So I set up this whole basically bullet journal. I went ahead and I created all the months, and as you see, I did not touch them. I didn't do it at all. And then I just this is just kind of chaos, each of my classes. And this worked. However, I would love to I still have the same intention as I did at the beginning of the year. I would have loved to have had a better record of exactly what we did so that I have a stronger record and evidence to provide families when having meetings and conferences about children's progress, as well as for curriculum development purposes. You know, I want to be able to look back year to year and see like, okay, the first 2 months of the year in JAS 4, we focused on X, Y, and Z, and that went well, yada, yada, so that when I'm training new teachers or, you know, just having these discussions with faculty about curriculum and that sort of thing. And just for my own, like, career development as a teacher. Like, obviously, you learn from your experiences. So I think being able to reflect on that would be helpful to me. All of that is to say, I failed at using this the way I intended to, but I haven't given up on wanting to do something like this. So our school year is ended. So I know, even though this is mid-year, I wanted to include this because I'm done using this planner. And I have two thoughts. My first thought is I just use another blank notebook like this and I just kind of try a different layout. But my second thought is potentially getting an undated Sterling ink common planner, a vertical planner, because this coming school year I will be teaching 8 classes. So obviously there's 7 days of the week, but the undated vertical spreads, the 7 columns plus the sidebar. So basically you have 8 columns, which is basically the exact kind of spread I've been wanting in a teaching planner for years, and it just doesn't exist because a standard planner is by the days of the week, right? Not like classes. Even academic planners. I've not been able to find a teacher planner or an academic planner that kind of checks all my boxes for what I've been looking for. But it dawned on me like yesterday that a blank, an undated vertical weekly planner would work, but most of them don't, like the way their sidebars are or whatever, it doesn't work to have 8 or 9 or 10, which is what I've needed in the past. But because I only need 8 this year, I think I could do that. So might get an undated Sterling ink to use as my teaching planner next year, or in September, I should say. So those are my thoughts on that. And then last but certainly not least, we have my cousin, which I really love. I really do love the cousin. I don't have like any real complaints, but I do think I might switch it up for something else next year, and I will tell you why in a second. But first let me tell you how I have been using it. This I just use for like important days that I need to not forget about, like doctor's appointments, birthdays, that kind of thing. I haven't actually updated it much for the second half of the year, so I need to look at that. My monthly spreads I use as basically memory keeping. June memory keeping video coming soon. I haven't done it yet, but I will. And then my weekly spreads, let's just go to like this current week. My weekly spread I use as like kind of half and half, as functional, like actively planning throughout the week, but also a little bit as a memory keeper. Like I pre-plan things that I intend to do, my schedule, that kind of thing to keep me on track, but then I will also go back and fill in what I actually did, right? I think that's pretty normal. That's how a lot of people use a weekly spread. And that's fabulous. It's working for me wonderfully. Daily pages, I think I've gotten way better about using these. Some days it's more journaling. Some days it's more like other random things, to-do lists. Overall, I'm just using them way more than I did last year, to the point where there have been a handful of days recently where I've actually ran out of space. So with that in mind, I am thinking about getting a dated Sterling ink common planner for next year, because it's basically the same layout as the cousin, which I love, but it's a little more simplistic. It doesn't have like the colors, like, you know how there's a different color in every month. Doesn't have that, which doesn't bother me a whole lot, but yeah, I'm not gonna lie, I would prefer if it was just neutral the whole way through. And there's not like the quotes at the bottom. I cannot speak or read Japanese, so I don't need all the little Japanese stuff in the cousin. So I think I might give the Sterling ink a try next year. But the big thing that I was gonna say is I like that the dailies aren't necessarily like dated dailies. You just have a bunch of blank pages at the back. So you could use 2 pages for a day if you wanted to. And I like that. So that's kind of where I'm at right now about next year. I really love the cousin, and it kind of hurts me to think about not having one, but it feels silly to even say that out loud. It's a freaking planner. I don't know. I don't have any real issues with the cousin, but it could be nice to try something new. But I definitely will continue using a Weeks. I don't see myself like ever not using a Weeks. It's just so perfect for like tracking things. Yeah, so I think that is about it. Those are all. Oh, actually, there is one other thing that I'm thinking about for next year. And this is kind of in relation to the fact that I've ran out of space in my daily pages a couple times. I've also just been considering adding I don't know if I want to call it a bullet journal, because I know technically bullet journaling is like, you know, its own specific thing, but having another dot grid journal to be more of just a creative space. I do have a junk journal. I don't think I've shown it on this channel in quite a long time, but I do occasionally junk journal. But that's more of a big production for me because I get out all my supplies and I'm collaging and cutting and ripping paper and yada yada. But I would kind of like another space to just be a little more creative with at least like my stationery and just maybe some more fun writing, that kind of thing. So it wouldn't be like a true daily planner, but more like an undated like bullet journal type of situation. And that's something obviously I could add into my system at any time. I don't need to wait till January to do that. So maybe I'll do that soon. I don't know. Part of me is like, but like how often would I really do it, you know? But if it's undated, I guess it doesn't really matter, right? Because I'll have it for whenever I want to use it. All right. If you made it to the end of this video, thank you for sticking around and listening to me yap. Please leave me a comment and let me know where you're at mid-year with your planners. Is your system working for you? Have you made any major changes? I am a person that I really try to just stick with what I bought. I try not to planner hop, but I know other people are different. So let me know where are you at, what's going on in your planner life. And please don't forget to like this video and subscribe if you haven't already. I would really appreciate that. Until my next video, I hope you have a great rest of your week. Thanks for watching. Bye.